welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be discussing, are you conformed to this world? So I was reading Romans 1 through 2, and it really got me thinking, and it really got me questioning things, and God really spoke to me through those verses, and so I thought I'd share. He wanted me to share what he told me. So let's first read it. It says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. Alrighty. So, comfort. I about titled this Comfort versus Conformity, but honestly, God tried to change my mind. So now I'll get to that in a minute. But comfort is the new craze these days. Comfort and self-care has corrupted the Christian's view of peace. It really has. Matthew 5:3-12 says, this is a lot, but they'll come to a point. It says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who are hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall become sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others rival you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. This word is so contrary to comfortable. It's contrary to the comfort that our world seeks today, this is how God says to live, uncomfortable. Our flesh desires comfort and then in turn receives conformity to this world. So that's relating to Romans 12:1-2, based more in verse 2, but our world is so contrary to comfortable. It's so comfortable these days. And this is not in the world. I mean, yes, it's in the world, but it's becoming in our church. It's coming into our homes as a Christian body. It's coming into that. And we can't let comfort bribe us and take us away from the transformation power of Jesus Christ because we're too comfortable to go further into the presence of God. All right, now we're going to kind of talk about Romans 12:1-2. So I'm going to kind of read what I wrote down and then kind of explain it. It says, being a living sacrifice and not being conformed to this world is opposite to comfort and self-care. Okay, comfort and self-care, that is what our world is known for. They want to find a way for whether through skincare, through self-care. They want to find a way to make us comfortable and help us to be prideful. And self-care is the same thing as being selfish. And that may seem so opposing to the world. But that is just what God's revealed to me. It's so opposite to the way that God says for us to live in humility and not in pride. Alrighty. God most often goes to the heart issue like he does in Romans 12:1-2, crucifying our flesh. As a result, renewing our mind. In Deuteronomy 36, it says, and the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. God knows. Even before, this is in the Old Testament, God knew that the only way for us to live in freedom is if we cut off the desires of the flesh and let God take over, putting your trust in him. So that's why it's so interesting that they use circumcision as the kind of reference of that, because I don't know if you know what that is, but if you know what that is, it makes sense. It seemed a little drastic, but in all reality, it's needed. Not necessarily circumcision, but circumcision of the heart, taking away and cutting off the flesh of our flesh from our heart, which is born into sin. We are all born into sin. Even Christians, we're all born into sin. We're all born into iniquity. So we all need to be cleansed, and we all need to put our trust in him daily. All right. So being conformed to this world has been masked by just being comfortable. There's been a mask. And I've said this before. I keep on saying it over and over. But the world has been masking to the Christians, to the Christian community. I'm not talking necessarily to the world, but I'm talking mostly to Christians because we have bought into the lie of comfort, making us stagnant in our prayer life in relationship with Jesus because we bought into the lie that the comfort of this world can fulfill us and can give us the strength that we need. The rest in the world, instead of resting in Jesus, can give us the strength that we need, which that is a total lie, you guys. So the world says to not be conformed, but be transformed. Okay, so we should seek for transformation in his presence daily, knowing that we are a fallen generation. Know that you cannot count on your flesh, but you can count on Jesus. So denying your flesh daily, like the Bible says, I think knowing that we have, that we're a fallen generation, knowing that we cannot do it on our own is the first step of transformation. Just recognizing that we are sinful, recognizing that we are less, taking the pride out, is kind of the first step of getting rid of that pride so that you can fully see clearly that you can do this. You can rely on Jesus. You can crucify your flesh daily. All right. Romans 12:3 says, "For by grace given to me, I say to everyone among you not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has designed." Sober judgment is missing from the Christians today. This is what I wrote down. I said, we think of ourselves way higher these days with self-love culture and forgetting our need for Jesus altogether. This is a representation of the conformity that verse 2 talks about. We conform to this world when we become prideful. Let us go and let God. As the world fights harder to get away from Jesus, we have to fight back with denying our flesh. So in Romans 12:3, this is after Romans 12:2, but coming into Romans 12:3, talks about sober judgment, and it relates to pride, and it relates to that. And I think it's so interesting that pride clouds our judgment. Pride clouds our judgment. We have to let go of pride. We have to let go with the thought that we are higher than God, because we're not. Pride becomes before the fall, because if the devil can get us to think that we're better than God, then he can get us to think that our sin is greater than God. And that is the lie. It's a lie. So I ask, are you conformed to this world? After listening to all of this, after kind of reflecting on what I've said, are you conformed to this world? Are you willing to be transformed by Jesus daily? All right. Think on those things, and we'll see you the next time on my YouTube channel. But I love you guys. I hope this helped. I hope this was kind of, insight for you. It was insight for me, but here's all my socials over here, and I hope that you'll come back for the next YouTube video. Alrighty. I love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.